Hi, so here we are again with hopefully what turns out to be a 5 minute review. Today we're going to talk about a rum that was the very first rum I started writing about. The English Harbour 1981 25-year-old, which came out in 2006, and that's the heel I have left. It was made by the English Harbour company, Antigua Distillers, out of Antigua, and originally it was supposed to be a successor to the Cavalier 25-year-old that they had. But when they started to create an export market in 1981 or thereabouts, or in the early 1980s, they found a copyright problem for Cavalier and they couldn't use the name, so they kind of used the name English Harbour, which was an actual English harbour that regattas were held in around Antigua. Strangely enough, the locals didn't really care for the name and they still call it Antigua. They still call it Cavalier, so locally it's still sold as Cavalier, but abroad for export it's called English Harbour. Now, there are 5,712 bottles of this thing that are supposedly made. I haven't heard anything that suggests that they are going to make more. It's 40% ABV. It is from a four-column Saval still that they installed in 1966. It was then subsequently, I think, decommissioned in the 1990s when they got a newer one. But there is something really nice about this rum that I really, really enjoy. And it wasn't just because of nostalgia and the fact that it was my very first premium rum that I ever tried after trying a whole bunch of Drek for a year straight. It really does have a nice profile. So when you smell it, right, I mean, I always have these glasses. Even now, all these years later, and this is a very old heel, you still can taste the blackcurrants, the strawberries, the sweet yogurt, all of the tart stone fruits that come at the background with a little bit of blancmange and chocolate and white chocolate and nuts and coffee and so on. And those are also notes that you get when you taste it. Now, I have to warn you, if you're looking for something really like a bit of a monster, or an ester bomb or something that really scrapes your tongue raw, this is not the one that you want. This is actually very light. It's like a cross between a St. Lucian pot still, a very, very low ester Jamaican rum, and a little bit of an agricole thrown in. You know, it's nice. It's gentle. It's easy. It is 40%, and of course, there's no getting away from that. But the tastes and the smells work really well together, and even now, that really holds water. Now, I did test it before I did this review, and it is 40%. They didn't see, there's no dosage involved in any of this. It tastes really nice. The real question is now, is it worth the money? Well, the money is $200. That's what I paid for it 15 years ago. And at that time, of course, that was like unheard of. That was like the most expensive thing I ever bought until I got around to the Appleton 30-year-old from 2008, 2012 or thereabouts. And that cost even more. But the fact of the matter is nowadays you can get it for much cheaper, especially on auction sites. I mean, they're not updating this particular brand anymore. It really does come in a nice presentation box, and you can open it and so on. This is Mrs. Kaner's, by the way. I don't own this. She kind of took it away from me, so what can I tell you? What Antigua Distillers have done is they have moved away from this particular expression, and they've started to go a little bit more experimental. Now, the standard rums that they do are the 5-year-old and the 10-year-old. And the 10-year-old I thought was so impressive and so good for what it was that I actually named it a key rum of the world, and I have no problem with saying that. I really think it is. This one is too expensive for that. This one just costs too much. And I don't even know if it's for sale anymore. You can probably get it only on auction sites and secondary sites. And because it's 40% and because it's so not really that well known, you can probably get it for less. I wouldn't recommend paying the price I did for it, not because it isn't good. I think it really is. And of course, it's now very old. But it just won't work for people who like rums with a little bit more aggressiveness, like at 40%. Now, English Harbour and Antigua Distillers, they have started to go in other directions. For example, they have done a high congener series of rums. They've done sherry finished 5-year-olds. They've done, I think it was a really high strength Cour de Saval kind of 73 or 74% rum. And I've reviewed them all, and they really are kind of really oomphish. And they take the company in a new direction, even though to this day they're really not that well known, which is kind of a shame, I think. I think they should be, but I think in markets that know what they're doing, you can probably get one, and some of the other expressions. But the important thing is they're not standing still. If you want to know more about them, go take a look at the Rumcast episode number 83, where they go into depth on that whole company and what they do, and that's really worth looking at, to listening to. And over and beyond that, I still think it's a really nice, sweet, great light rum that holds its own even after all these years. And yeah, no, I would probably score that about 84, 85 points now, just because I've developed myself with this. So I hope you do get a chance to try it, and if you don't, perhaps you can come by my place and I'll give you some of mine. But you got to ask Mrs. Kaner first. So that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and thanks very much for listening. That's it for today. Bye bye.